if you made it through in the fantasy playoffs, and that may be a big if for some of us out there, you need some help on the waiver wire, or at least you could use some help on the waiver wire. And we are here for you. It's week 16 edition, the Audible and quarterback Mac Jones. Hey, 2 quarterback superflex league. If you don't get dinged for interceptions with the way that Jones has played and built confidence, and specifically you get a piece of Brian Thomas if
Right.
you get Mac Jones. Let's talk about the Jaguars starter.
Yeah, playing with a little swag. And see, we talk about this. Okay, you're a failed first round pick, but your career's not over and you're getting another opportunity. So why not just play loose? And that's what we saw from him. And like you said, he taps into Brian Thomas Jr.'s talent, so you get those points. Also, Las Vegas and Tennessee. That's pretty hey, you can put up some points against those defenses, against those teams where they are right now. So not only is Mac Jones someone that in 2 quarterback superflex leagues you might be looking at as a potential option, but even as 1 quarterback league desperation depth, not that anybody was relying on Patrick Mahomes, but if you were, might be looking to the waiver wire for your quarterback. The point is this: there's going to be chaos. There was already a lot of chaos. Did you like the chaos yesterday? The injuries. I don't think it's that much of a coincidence that, number one, we're seeing injuries pile up because these players have a lot of mileage on them. And number two, as teams see where they're at in their season, they might be shutting players down for minor injuries that they might have played through. So that could also include the quarterback position. So Mac Jones could have some more value than you think.
More value there for Cooper Rush. So yeah, Cooper, keep it up.
Yeah, he had probably the best game of his career. Completed touchdown passes to 3 different players, including one on an extended play. He's got Tampa Bay this week. That could be a fun game for fantasy. And the other thing is, again, as we see more quarterbacks drop, as we see more of these backup quarterbacks get in, like if Sam Howell gets in this week, then you think about it, in a 2 quarterback superflex league, there are 24 starting quarterbacks in a 12-team league. That line, I call it the desperation play line in my tiers every week. The plays like, well, if you have to, that means better than a 0. That line is moving up. So Cooper Rush might be above 24 soon if more of these backup quarterbacks like Sam Howell get to play. So Cooper Rush has some value.
Okay. Any other quarterbacks out there
Yeah, I
floating
mean,
around?
2 quarterback superflex leagues, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph's kind of like Cooper Rush. I mean, not a liability and he was completing a lot of passes. Spencer Rattler, maybe Aaron Rodgers is out there. I didn't put him at the top of this segment because we've talked about him, so you already know what's going on with him. And also, he's playing outdoors against the Rams, potentially a good matchup. And then outdoors against Buffalo in Week 17, not good. Carson Wentz. We're waiting to hear some more. Carson Wentz probably also falls into that. Cooper Rush and Mason Rudolph are more like high floor, low ceiling guys. Carson Wentz would be a low floor, high-ish ceiling. I mean, he does scramble. Maybe watch. Carson Wentz will be the guy that unlocks Xavier Worthy's deep speed, right? Because that's the one thing he could do when he was with Philadelphia, is hit that deep ball on 3rd and 14. So the quarterback injuries, again, that's part of the reason why in 2 quarterback superflex leagues, someone like Mac Jones or Cooper Rush, you're looking at and saying, well, there's some potential there.
There is some potential there and some. I love Jerome Ford, but I hate that this conversation comes at the expense of another Nick Chubb injury. But let's go to running backs and let's start with Jerome Ford.
Yeah, and remember, Tennessee, and we don't exactly consider Tennessee a high-flying offense, 3 running back touchdowns last week against Cincinnati. And Jerome Ford looked like one of the fastest running backs in the league. Now, some of this is, again, things get skewed this late in the season because running backs who may not have a high floor and ceiling in terms of talent, although Jerome Ford was an Alabama recruit, if they don't have a lot of wear and tear, if they're fresher than the defenses they're facing, it shows, like it did when Jerome Ford pulled away from the Kansas City defense. So you're going to have him mixed with, I'm not even sure, Pierre Strong. I have no idea. But Jerome Ford is going to get enough work to at least be considered a flex play. He's good in the passing game. Now, Dorian Thompson-Robinson may start. We have some quarterback situations, Tennessee, Cleveland. We're waiting to hear the coaches. But when they don't commit to someone after the game, the writing's on the wall. So Dorian Thompson-Robinson might not be good for the passing game, but he might be good for the running game. So that's another reason to like Jerome Ford as the top waiver wire running back this week.
Well, behind him, Kendre Miller and others, but Miller completely out of the doghouse and now almost completely his show, depending
Right?
on the health status of Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, and he's fresh also. New Orleans showed a little bit of life. Green Bay's defense looks good. So Kendre Miller is more of a what the heck flex than a flex, even if Alvin Kamara is out. But again, the math that comes in here is the Saints signed Kamara to an extension. Like, why? Why? If anything is wrong with him, why would you continue to play him? They're basically out of the playoff hunt at this point. So the clock keeper can't help your fantasy team. It can help the Saints, and it can help Kendre Miller. The clock starts for him potentially as a starter. Two things to watch here: Joe Mixon, hip drop tackle, played through it, but I think that he played through the one earlier this year and then missed a couple of games. What does Houston really have to win at this point? They won the division. They're going to be the number 4 seed. Why? Again, this is, see, I guess this is assumption of rational injury management, right? Assumption of rational injury management is let Dameon Pierce have some run over these last few weeks. Kenneth Gainwell. Now, Saquon Barkley did not want to talk about his injury. It seemed like they were working on him on the sidelines. He has had a lot of wear and tear. And the Eagles, they are very much in it for the number 1 seed, and that's important. Can they win the number 1 seed without Saquon Barkley, or maybe with more of a Barkley Gainwell committee? Gainwell looked good on his touches, especially in the passing game. So do you scale back a little bit with Barkley, a little more with Kenneth Gainwell, with the long view of getting back to the Super Bowl and winning this time with Jalen Hurts? We'll see. But Gainwell and Pierce could end up being very consequential players in the last couple of weeks of the fantasy playoffs.
All right, to the wide receiver position we go, and a couple of Jalen's to talk about. But first, let's go Carolina and Jalen Coker getting it done.
Yeah. And by the way, I Ty J. Spears if he's out there, and a Ty Johnson in PPR league especially. So Jalen Coker, you got Xavier Legette with a groin injury, and you have this deep ball connection with him and Bryce Young. And you have this week a game against Arizona, not a terrific matchup, but then week 17 against Tampa Bay. Notice we're not going to talk about weather in these games either. Okay. I do think it's going to get cold in the South, but Jalen Coker, he'll be fine. So he is that boom bust play, 83-yard touchdown. He's looked like their best downfield target. And if I'm Dave Canales and I'm looking to the future, you want to warm up this connection. This is your number 1 downfield receiver. Xavier Legette is not a downfield receiver. Okay. This is the guy. So, see, we could be talking about Jalen Coker in much more vaunted terms in just a few weeks if Bryce Young continues to hook up with him on the deep ball.
Yeah, hook up with Jalen McMillan. We talked about it in the recap show. Well, if you don't have Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan, nice little prize if he's out there.
Yeah, a little delayed impact in the sense that they could say nothing but positive things about him in training camp as being way ahead of the curve. who's who's going to be a better pro, Jalen McMillan or Jalen Polk? I think we have the answer, and we also have the answer for who's going to be more useful for Week 16 and Week 17 as Tampa Bay. And what's nice about this is a Baker Mayfield centric offense. Now Carolina in Week 17 is really soft against the run, so that could be a Bucky Irving and Rashod White week, but it's always a Baker Mayfield week. And Jalen McMillan has a connection with him now. So Jalen McMillan is looking like this week against Dallas. Yeah, Jalen McMillan is, if he's not, drop the what the heck. He's a flex, and he's an upside flex. And they're not going to miss Chris Godwin for Dynasty, by the way. Chris Godwin's going to be a free agent. So, yeah, just getting started with Jalen McMillan.
Just getting started. Who else is there at wide receiver behind McMillan?
Yeah, you might Quinton Johnston, maybe if we hear that Patrick Surtain is not going to play. But and the thing is, I mean, I guess, and see, this is something where we can get matchup specific here. Quinton Johnston and Josh Palmer, who kind of fell off the face of the earth last week for fantasy. It seems to me like the Broncos in the chess game could just cancel out Palmer with Surtain as far as the physical matchup. Johnston is a little more dangerous, but not a downfield receiver. So I think Johnston could be a what the heck flex out of the two. Does that hold up based on watching the Broncos defense all year?
I don't want part of that game. Honestly, could be like 13-3.
Slot fest.
Yeah.
Well, a street fight. So yeah, there's not much out there this week in terms of Rashod Bateman if he was dropped during the bye because he had a knee injury. But yeah, this is where we're at. The wide receivers you got, those are the ones you're going to play with.
Yeah, the tight ends you got. Well, you might have to get Brenton Strange again. Back to the recap show. Everyone run, get Brenton Strange if he's out there, especially because we talked about Mac Jones. He's looking for two guys. One you can't get because he's a megastar, and the other is on your waiver wire. His name's Brenton Strange.
Yeah, and all those short passes, 11 of them he caught. And again, you got Vegas and Tennessee. Okay, last week Sam Hubbard caught a touchdown against Tennessee. So if Sam Hubbard can catch a touchdown, then Brenton Strange probably can. And it's the role, and it's the way that they're unlocking Brian Thomas and how Brenton Strange then is occupying that role in the middle of the field. Those are the clear top two targets. So this and honestly, Cease, we're in a reality where if somebody asks me, especially if Patrick Mahomes is not playing against Houston, they say, well, I've got Travis Kelce, but I pick up Brenton Strange. Who should I start? Answer's not clear.
It's unclear. It's unclear unless you're smart. Stone smart. He's got to be a superhero, right?
Right? Right? You're the guy who, like, this is, reality. All the best ideas come from reality. We're just trying to copy the best ideas from reality. So Stone Cold Smart, downfield target. And as you tell us every week, Denver not great at covering the tight end. So if it's a 13-3 game, maybe he's part of the 3 or the 13 as Justin Herbert still slinging it. And this is a game that maybe if Patrick Surtain is wiping out one of the downfield targets and the running game's not working because it hasn't been working, maybe Smartt is the answer. A few other tight ends, Foster Moreau caught the touchdown. They just went back to Foster Moreau on the 2-point conversion. Maybe the Saints would still be alive. But Foster Moreau is at least a desperation option. Chigoziem Okonkwo, and maybe Josh Wiley too. I think between the two of them, they had 13 catches. I don't know how many of those were from Mason Rudolph, but most of them were. Rudolph went 21 for 26. Short range, high percentage passing. That sure sounds like passing to the tight ends a lot going up against the Colts this week. And what did we see against the Colts? 2. Cease, how many tight end touchdowns did the Broncos have all year coming into the game last week? Like 3? They had 2 yesterday against Indianapolis. So one of those Tennessee tight ends could hit this week, especially if Mason Rudolph is the starter.
All right, we get to the part where it's cathartic, and I think, is this our last waiver wire show of the year?
Next week, we usually do week 17.
Okay, yeah, week
It
17.
can be.
Sorry. Yeah, you tell us, guys. We usually do one in week 17, but we'll see. Waivers open, all that sort of stuff. But yes, as we count down, there's only a couple of times left to say this. So the audience participation comes right now. So just scream it to the heavens with us and then let us know how you did it. Say it with me. It's time to cue the Chuck D. Sigmund, week 16, shut him down.
Patrick Mahomes, I think. I mean, if he's playing on a bum wheel, have you even been starting him anyway? If he's playing on a bum wheel, why? And he's probably not going to be playing. He shouldn't be playing, at least this week. Jameis Winston, even if he's playing, he could get benched at any time. The matchup's great, but no, thank you. Nick Chubb. There's like a third option here, the Viking funeral. We put our hands over our heart, a tear runs down our cheek as we drop Nick Chubb. Although, again, if you're alive and you want to keep somebody on your roster so they get a ring, I'm all for that. Let's wait and hear on Jalen Waddle. If we don't hear anything positive about Jalen Waddle's knee injury, it's probably time to cut him loose. Amari Cooper, can you really afford to start a receiver who gets a 0 when his team scores 48 points? I mean, it's great for the Joe Brady everyone eats offense. I guess not everyone eats because there wasn't even a crumb for Amari Cooper.
Not a crumb left. So opposite of shut him down is hold on. And here at week 16, who are you holding on to?
It's tough. Tyrone Tracy. If I had to play a desperation running back, Tyrone Tracy's not bad. He's got speed. He can do some things in the passing game, although being in a committee with Devin Singletary, not great. Probably holding on to Tony Pollard, even with Tyjae Spears coming on. Just want to hear how he's doing. Again, Tennessee has some matchups that'll be competitive. He can get some carries. Let's just wait and hear about Alvin Kamara, because the flip side of they should shut him down is it's the Saints, and they probably shouldn't have been giving him 25 touches a game anyway. So maybe they'll just keep playing him, and you don't want to get ahead of yourself there. Jerry Jeudy. So you've covered Judy for you. Can Judy do enough with Dorian Thompson-Robinson to matter in fantasy?
Does he care? Is it going on his Instagram?
Ooh, dang, ice cold. Yeah, so maybe. I mean, hey, 1,000-yard season, maybe first 1,100-yard season. Is that something that's Instagrammable? I don't know.
I don't know either, but I hope you made it, because some of us are already done.
Yeah.
It's been a frustrating year for fantasy football, but we are here for you. All the stories we could share. He's Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on all the socials at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show is at The Audible. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Watch the other videos that may or may not pop up. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty?